This is a poem by one of the boys at the Silver Factory. We used to always hang out there. One of the greatest of our times. Ginsberg, Allen Ginsberg. And this one's called Howl. Brace yourselves. It's a long one. Howl for Carl Solomon. I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical, naked, dragging themselves through the Negro streets at dawn looking for an angry fix. Angel-headed hipsters burning for the ancient heavenly connection to the starry dynamo in the machinery of night. Who poverty and tatters and hollow-eyed and high sat up smoking in the supernatural darkness of cold water flats floating across the top of cities contemplating jazz. Who blared their brains to heaven under the L and saw Mohammedan angels staggering on tenement roofs illuminated. Who passed through universities with radiant cool eyes, hallucinating Arkansas and Blake light tragedy among the scholars of war. Who were expelled from the academies of crazy and publishing obscure odes. On the windows of the skull, some light. Who covered in unshaven rooms in underwear, burning their money in wastebaskets and listening to the terror through the wall. Who got busted in their pubic beards, returning through Laredo with a belt of marijuana for New York. Who ate fire in paint hotels or drank turpentine in Paradise Alley. Death or purgatoried their torsos night after night. With dreams, with drugs, with waking nightmares, alcohol and cock and endless holes. I need some fucking light! Peyote solidities of halls, backyard green tree cemetery dawns, wine drunkenness over the rooftops, storefront burrows of tea-head joyride neon, blinking traffic lights, sun and moon and tree vibrations in the roaring winter dusk of Brooklyn, ashcan rantings and kind king, light of mind. Who talked continuously 70 hours from park to pad to bar to Bellevue to museum to the Brooklyn Bridge. Lost battalion of platonic conversationalists jumping down the stoops of fire escapes of windowsills of Empire State out of the moon. Yickety, yakketing, screaming, vomiting, whispering facts and memories and anecdotes and eyeballed kicks and shocks of hospitals and jails and wars. Whole intellects disgorged in total recall for 7 days and nights with brilliant eyes, meet for the synagogue cast on the pavement. Who wandered around and around at midnight in the railroad yard wondering where to go, and went, leaving no broken hearts. Who lit cigarettes in boxcars, racketing through snow toward lonesome farms in grandfather night. Who loomed it through the streets of Idaho, seeking visionary Indian angels, who were visionary Indian angels. Who thought they were only mad when Baltimore gleamed in supernatural ecstasy. Who lounged hungry and lonesome through Houston, seeking jazz or sex or soup, and followed the brilliant Spaniard to converse about America in eternity, a hopeless task, and so to ship to Africa. Who disappeared into the volcanoes of Mexico, leaving behind nothing but the shadow of dungarees and the lava and ash of poetry scattered in fireplace Chicago. Who reappeared on the West Coast investigating the FBI in beards and shorts with big pacifist eyes, sexy in their dark skin, passing out incomprehensible leaflets. Who burned cigarette holes in their arms, protesting the narcotic tobacco base of capitalism. Who distributed super-communist pamphlets in Union Square, weeping and undressing, while the sirens of Los Alamos wailed them down and wailed down Wall, and the Staten Island ferry also wailed. Who broke down crying in white gymnasiums, naked and trembling before the machinery of other skeletons. Who bit detectives in the neck and shrieked with delight in police cars for committing no crime but their own, while cooking pedestrian intoxication. Who howled on their knees in the subway and were dragged off the roof waving genitals and manuscripts. Who let themselves be fucked in the ass by saintly motorcyclists and screamed with joy. Who blew and were blown by those human seraphims, the sailors, caresses of Atlantic and Caribbean love. Who bawled in the morning and in the evening in the rose garden and the grass public parks and cemeteries, scattering their semen freely to whomever come who may. Who hiccuped endlessly trying to giggle but wound up with a sob behind a partition in a Turkish bath when the blonde and naked angel came to pierce them with a sword. Who lost their love boys to the 3 old shrews of fate, the one-eyed shrew of the heterosexual dollar, the one-eyed shrew that winks out of the womb, and the one-eyed shrew that does nothing but sit on her ass and snip the intellectual golden threads of the craftsman's loaf. Who copulated ecstatic and insatiate with a bottle of beer, a sweetheart, a package of cigarettes, a candle, and fell off the bed and continued along the floor and down the hall and ended up fainting on the wall with a vision of ultimate cunt and cum, eluding the last schism of consciousness. Who walked all night with their shoes full of blood on the snowbank docks, waiting for a door in the East River to open to a room full of steam heat and opium. Who created great suicidal dramas on the apartment cliff banks, on the Hudson, under the wartime blue floodlights of the moon, and their heads shall be crowned with laurel in oblivion. Who ate the lamb stew of the imagination or digested the crab at the muddy bottom of the rivers of Bowery. Who wept at the romance on the streets with their pushcarts full of onions and bad music. Who sat in boxes breathing in the darkness under the bridge and rose up to build harpsichords in their lofts. Who coughed on the 6th floor of Harlem, crowned with flame under the tubercular sky, surrounded by orange crates of theology. Who scribbled all night, rocking and rolling ever-lofting incarnations in the yellow morning with stanzas of gibberish. Who cooked rotten animals, lung heart, fret tail, brushed, and tortillas Himalayas, dreaming of the pure vegetable kingdom. Who plunge themselves under meat trucks looking for eggs. Who threw their watches off the roof to cast their ballot for eternity outside of time. And alarm clocks fell their heads every day for the next decade. Who cut their wrists 3 times successfully, unsuccessfully, gave up and were forced to open antique stores where they thought they were growing old and cried. Who were burned alive in their innocent flannel suits on Madison Avenue amid blasts of leaden verse, and the tanked-up clatter of their iron regiments of fashion, and the nitroglycerine shrieks of fairies of advertising, and the mustard gas of sinister intelligent editors, or were run down by the drunken taxicabs of absolute reality. Who jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge, this actually happened, and walked away unknown and forgotten into the ghostly days of Chinatown, Sioux Valley, ways and fire trucks, not even one free beer. Who sang out of their windows in despair, fell out of the subway window, jumped in the filthy prosaic, leaped on Negroes, cried all over the street, danced on broken wine glasses barefooted, smashed phonograph records of nostalgic European 1930s German jazz, finished the whiskey and threw up, groaning into the bloody toilet, moans in their ears, and the blast of colossal steam whistles, who barrel down the highways of the past, journeying to each other's hot rod, Golgotha jail, Solitude Watch, or Birmingham Jazz incarnation. Who drove cross-country 72 hours to find out if I had a vision, or if you had a vision, or if he had a vision to find out eternity. Who journeyed to Denver, who died in Denver, who came back to Denver and waited in vain, who watched over Denver and brooded and loaned in Denver, and finally went away to find out the time, and now Denver is lonesome for her heroes.